which means it is a new monthly reading wrap up. And today we're going to be talking about the 12 books. The 12 books that I read in October. I was gonna say November almost. No, in October. So if you're unfamiliar, I do these every single month. So make sure you check out the playlist up in the cards if you haven't seen the rest of these. But yeah, October was actually a really, really great reading month. Before we hop into the books, I just want to give a quick little brief shout out to my jewelry. I get questions all the time from you guys about my jewelry, what jewelry I wear, and I get my jewelry from various different places, but my favorite place is Ana Luisa, and they kindly sent me these two pieces. I'm just obsessed. I love gold, dainty, everyday jewelry. I love pieces that I can wear over and over and over again, and that's why I'm obsessed with Ana Luisa. And they're kindly sponsoring today's video. The thing I love the most about Ana Luisa is that they are tarnish free. I actually worked with Ana Luisa back in 2019, and I still wear one of the coin pendant necklaces to this day. I wear my Ana Luisa pieces daily. I wear them to bed, I wear them in the shower, I wear them swimming, and I've never had a piece tarnish. I also love that they have a 2-year warranty. Not only are the pieces really durable, but they also start at just $39 for high quality, long lasting jewelry. That is such a great price point. And they have free and fast shipping in the US. So if you like dainty, gold, everyday pieces like me, definitely check out Ana Luisa. I have a code with them, HaleyJean20, can get you 20% off your purchase. So check it out. I will have it linked in the description box. I love Ana Luisa so much. So yeah, make sure is the final book. This one follows Bo and Bailey. Bo is Bo Eaton, one of the Eaton brothers, Jasper's best friend. And Bailey is a local bartender. She is from a really, really poor, troubled family. And yeah, Bo is he just gets back from being in the military, and he went through some very traumatic stuff, and he's kind of struggling. And he's kind of found solace and comfort going to the bar where Bailey works, and that's kind of how they begin talking. It is a fake engagement, fake fiance, as you can probably tell by the ring on the cover of the book, but I loved it. I know that fake dating, fake marriage tropes are always, a little bit cheesy and maybe really, really unbelievable, but I just think they're always fun, and I think that the way that Elsie Silver did it was really unique. But yeah, I also gave this 4 stars. I feel like throughout the series you're building up Bo's book a lot. He's mentioned so much, and his whole family's worried about him, and as you're reading their books, you're seeing glimpses of him, and so I feel like in this book I would have liked more family moments and conversations. It kind of just seemed like when he announced that him and Bailey were engaged, they were just kind of okay. It just felt like there wasn't enough tension, there wasn't enough, I don't know, drama or angst or resolution in Bo's family life. So I talked to Star for that, but the spice in this book, Elsie Silver is a queen because she just manages to level up her spice in every book. Every book in the series is spicy. Elsie Silver hit us with some spicy scenes in here that I've never seen before, and I gobbled them up, okay? You need to be open-minded. But they were iconic. But yeah, I loved these books. I love this series. Love it, love it, love it. It's definitely going to be one of my favorite reads of the year. I will, now that I've read all of the series, I'll give you my ranking of them. So my favorites are Reckless and Heartless, and then I would say Hopeless and Powerless are tied, and Flawless is my least favorite. Okay, I also finished another series in October. I read the second and the third book in the Good Girl's Guide to Murder trilogy by Holly Jackson. So I read the first book last year, and I just never picked up the second and third book. I feel like the first book ends in a way that it didn't really compel me to pick up the second one, Good Girl Bad Blood. But it was Halloween. I wanted, a little more of a spooky read, so I picked up Good Girl Bad Blood. I can't really talk about the plots of these 2 books because they are a second and third in the trilogy, so I don't want to spoil anything, but the series follows a girl named Pip. And she, in the first book, starts for a school project. Basically, this girl, Andy, was murdered in her town, and she doesn't think that they got the right person. She thinks that the guy that they say that did it is innocent. And so she starts trying to solve that case and get to the bottom of it. And then in the second book, she actually starts a podcast and starts solving other cases on this podcast. So yeah, again, can't talk much about them, but I loved this one. Gave it a 4.5. Yes, 4.5. It just didn't give me that 5-star feeling, but honestly, no notes. Looking back, no notes. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't guess anything, and the plot twists are great, and I just think this book solidified me book, you know, it gets more dark, more serious, more twisty. So, super glad I picked that up. I think that is the highest book I rated, 4.5 stars this month, so we love that. And then, immediately after the like, ending of this book, I was like, oh my god, I need to read this book. So, I picked this up. This one, I remember when it came out, it had a lot of, like, varying reviews. People either loved it or hated it. And now that I've read it, I can see why. There is a certain plot twist that Holly Jackson does that some people might not like. I personally loved it. I'm just saying. I thought this was great. I gave it 4 stars. The only reason I didn't rate it higher is because I guessed 2 of the big plot twists. This is the first time in the series at all that I have been able to like guess a plot twist, and that always is gonna like kind of knock the rating down for me. And I feel like there were certain parts that were like a little bit too long, like the middle I feel like could have been shortened, whereas like the end definitely could have been extended. I need an extended epilogue so bad, Holly Jackson, you do not have any idea. I'm not kidding. I need an extended epilogue so bad. But yeah, overall this series was so fun. If you're looking for a YA mystery thriller series, I loved this. I would recommend it to anyone. It was a great time. Next, I listened to an audiobook. I listened to The Woman in Me by Britney Spears. Of course, this came out this month, and I just knew I wanted to listen to it. I will say I was a little disappointed that she didn't narrate the audiobook herself, because most celebrities narrate their own audiobooks, but either way, I understand like why she wouldn't want to like relive all of that, and obviously you can tell by the way that it's worded and the writing that she had definitely probably had help. It still really did feel like it was Britney telling her own story. It really did, and obviously there are a lot of details in here that we didn't know for so long that were very shocking, and it was great. It was great. I gave it 4 stars. And I love a celebrity memoir. I love listening to the audiobooks, and this one in particular I think is definitely worth the listen. And it's pretty short as well, so worth your time, I say. Okay, then after that, I did a spooky little reread. I have been wanting to reread Twilight for such a long time because I'm definitely a twihard. My mom introduced me to these books when I was like 11, and I read them as a kid, and then me and my mom would always go see the movies as they came out in theaters. And by now I have seen the movies like 7 times over, you know, so I know them like the back of my hand. But the book, I have not revisited any of the books since I was a kid, so I wanted to go back and read the OG and see, because I feel like even to this day this series gets such a bad rap and people are constantly hating on it. And honestly, y'all, I'm a hater. I'm a critical ass hater when I read books, and like this was a solid 4-star. Obviously I'm gonna have a little bit more of an emotional attachment, but like it was good. It was so fun, and the writing was okay, you know, the writing was surprisingly well. And honestly, I think the only thing that this book lacks is like Bella is kind of a boring main character. Like she's really, honestly, like she's bland, and I think Kristen Stewart played her character perfectly. But it was fun, and it was so cool to revisit it. I did annotate, as you can see by the tabs, and I really feel like it is so similar to the movies. this series had on our culture to this day is wild, and we should give it the flowers that it deserves. So I love Twilight. Okay, next I read another new release. October was just the month of new releases. I swear everyone was releasing their books, so of course I had to pick up Wildfire by Hannah Grace. This is the second book in the Maple Hills series. The first one is Icebreaker, which, if you're familiar with me, was one of my favorite books last year. So I've had this pre-ordered. I was so excited to read it. The second it came out, I read it, and it was cute. It was cute. I don't think it's as good as Icebreaker was. I think I gave it a 3.5 star. But I don't know. I don't think that the summer camp setting really lended itself as nicely to the story as the college did in Icebreaker. But I loved the characters, Aurora and Russ. I loved them. They both are struggling with daddy issues, but like in very different ways. And I feel like a lot of this book focused on their character growth and sort of overcoming that. And I definitely ship Aurora and Russ. I wanted them to end up together. I thought they were very, very cute. I just didn't like the side plots and the setting and the rest of it, So, but yeah. Super, super sweet. If you want like a fluffy, lighthearted romances where the main characters communicate and, I feel like Hannah Grace writes really comforting, cozy romance. So, 3.5 stars. I cannot wait for the next book because I think it's gonna be Henry's book, and I'm so excited. Okay, after that, I read a book on my Kindle. It is Tattered Stars by Catherine Cowles. This is the first book in a romantic suspense series, and they're like interconnected romance standalones, and I believe they follow like a family that was definitely like in a religious cult, and there's obviously like different mysteries and spooky stuff happening. And I'd never really read a romantic suspense before, but I'd heard really good things about Catherine Cowles, and I was still feeling that like small town vibe. This was right after I finished Chestnut Springs, and so this was the series that most people said to start with by her, so I picked up the first book. And this is definitely, it's not the book, it's me kind of problem, I feel like this book could work for a lot of people, but I just didn't enjoy it. I ended up giving it 2 stars purely based on the fact that I just didn't really connect to it. 2.5 stars, sorry. I just didn't really connect to it. The main girl in it, her dad was like a really awful guy. He was like a doomsday prepper, but he kidnapped this other girl that was like her same age when they were kids, and she is actually the one that went to the police. Like, she managed to like break out of her house and alert someone, and she's kind of the one that saved the little girl and had helped her like return home. So it's been like years and years and years since that happened, and she's moving back in town to the house, and she runs into the girl that she saved, his older brother, and he's the love interest, but he was a sheriff, and I didn't know that going into the book. And this is just a me thing. I can't swoon over cops, and I didn't really crazy scene, and at the time I was just in the mood for a slow burn, so I DNF'd it at like 50 pages in, but I'm definitely gonna go back to it at some point. So it's like a soft DNF, but if you're looking for like a Twitch stream bad boy gamer boy romance, definitely check this out, because it's gonna be a series, 3 different books following 3 different masked streamers. Then they all live together. It sounds so cool. I feel like the romance market definitely needs more gamer romance. But yeah, it just wasn't what I was in the mood for at the time. Okay, then I read a horror. Again, it was October. I was in the spooky feeling, and so I picked up Things Have Gotten Worse Since We Last Spoke by Eric LaRocca. This was like really blowing up on TikTok and YouTube like a year and a half ago maybe, and that's when it like got on my radar. But it's a horror novella about these 2 women who meet on a queer online chat room in the early 2000s. And it just goes really, really dark and twisted from there. Okay, I don't want to explain too much because I don't want to spoil anything, but I was very disappointed by this. I gave it 2 stars. I feel like the premise was so interesting, but I think that I had 2 main gripes with it. First of all, it is a novella, so it is quite short, and I think it definitely could have benefited from being a bit longer. I felt like when it ended, I was like, wait, that's it? Like, I definitely could have read more, and I think if we wrote more, like if this was longer, then it would solve my second issue was these 2 women felt so bland. They felt like cardboard cutouts. They felt you could interchange the women, and personality wise, like you wouldn't even notice. The only way I could differentiate who was talking sometimes was by looking at their usernames, you know, like thankfully the usernames are like on the book, like with each message, but if you removed the usernames, I feel like it would be hard to guess who was who. And yeah, I just feel like I didn't, and because I didn't feel like these were real women, I didn't connect with them. They didn't feel like real people. When bad stuff started happening, I literally didn't care. Like, there is some gross, gruesome, graphic, like if you like body horror, I think you'll like this, but even the gruesome body horror like didn't bother me because I did not care about these characters. Like, I don't know. I feel like with books, I'm such a character-driven reader. And yeah, this was just disappointing. Second to last, most disappointing book of the month. I'm still upset about this. Like, I'm still upset. We have A Curse for True Love by Stephanie Garber. Another new release. Finished another series. This is the 3rd book in the Once Upon a Broken Heart trilogy by Stephanie Garber. This was the flop of all flops. Like, I loved the first 2 books in the series. I gave them 4 and 5 stars, I think. And this is a 2-star, babe. Like, what was this? What was this? This felt so disjointed from the other 2 books. It literally at times felt like an entirely different author wrote this. We all of a sudden get another perspective, another POV, and it's from a character that no one fucking cares about. No one cares about. And the romance in here was like so short, so minimal. And my biggest issue with this is that by by the ending, there are so many plot holes just left unanswered, left completely ignored. Like, and I'm not talking one or two, I'm talking like many, so many, that I'm just like, I feel a little bit insulted. Like, don't waste my time. Seriously. I'm so fucking serious. Do not waste my time. I hate that. I only read the Once Upon a Broken Heart trilogy. A lot of people say that you should read Caraval first, the Caraval trilogy, and then read this. Oh my god, I'm so glad I didn't waste my goddamn time. Imagine writing 6 books in this world. 6 entire books in this world. And you still can't explain where Jack gets his apples. You still can't explain 9 different plot holes. And I feel like the ending of this book really, really hints at another spin-off series in the same world. How do you have 6 books, 2 finished trilogies, and you still leave us with that many plot holes? Absolutely not. Do not waste my time. Love Jax though. He carried that entire series on his little back. I love him. And lastly, the last book. I feel like I'm about to make a lot of people real mad with the last like 2 books in this video. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, but I just can't lie. I finally read Haunting Adeline by H.D. Carlton. This is like the most hyped up dark romance book. And I gave it 1 star. I gave it 1 star. And you know, it's kind of like that Tyra Banks, like, it was so bad, I want to give you a 0. But I can't. So I'm giving you a 1. And that is literally me with this book. Okay, here's the thing. Here's the thing. This is a dark stalker romance for mature audiences. This is super, 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 super dark. Check your trigger warnings. You know, do not read this. If you're underage, I am fucking serious. It is just like, but I'm not giving it a low rating because it's dark. Because that would be silly. If I walk into a dark romance and then I rate it badly because it's dark, that would be silly. I am giving this a low rating because these characters make no sense. They make no sense. Again, I'm a character-based reader. Been over that. So this book follows Zaid and Adeline. Zaid is a man who by day runs an organization called Z. Very creative. Z is an organization that is basically set out to stop sex trafficking. And for some reason, on the side, Zaid decides, after briefly seeing Addie across a bookstore. Addie is a regular, normal civilian with brown hair and probably like fucking brown eyes, like the most average bird. Like, she probably looks like me. For some reason, when Zaid sees her across this bookshop, he becomes obsessed with her, in love with her, and he like must have her, to the point where he starts stalking her. He breaks in and he forces himself on her sexually multiple times through the entire book, actually. And this is not dub gone, this is not non-gone, this is just sexual assault. All of the spicy scenes made me so uncomfortable because Addie is literally like telling him no, she's telling him to stop, she's crying. No thanks. How are you, as someone that's gonna fight against sex trafficking, turn around and just stalk Addie and literally abuse her? Like, I'm just Zaid made no fucking sense. And I feel like the only reason he was like trying to stop sex trafficking was so H.D. Carlton could give us something to root for. And I don't know. I didn't like Zaid. He was cringy and gross and weird. I honestly, like, this is a stalker romance. Joe. In the first season of You, Joe was a more likable and romantic stalker in the first season of You than Zayd was in this book. Like, even Joe knew not to sexually assault women. I don't know. But regardless of that, sexual assault aside, which is crazy to even say, is actually absurd to even say, sexual assault aside, Joe liked Beck because they read the same books, they had similar interests, you know, he like got to know her slowly before he started like stalking her. Zayd just sees Addie and like instantly is like, I need to fucking have you. And I couldn't get with it. The writing is bad, the plotting is bad, the characters are bad, the logic is bad, the metaphors are awful. Like, why are we talking about Cheerios right now? Like, I just read about a child getting sacrificed in a cult meeting. Like, why are we reading about Cheerios? I don't know. It wasn't for me. I'm not trying to yuck anyone's yum who loves this book, but if you are interested in reading darker romance with kinkier scenes that explore BDSM and kink and dubcon, non-con, stuff like that, I highly, highly recommend checking anything out by Harley LaRue. So, that, my friends, is a long and winded October reading wrap-up. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to see the reading vlog where I read Credence and Haunting Adeline, I vlogged the entire reading experience, spoilers and everything. Make sure you subscribe to